Hello everybody, welcome back. I'm the Strategy Professor, and today we're going to be looking at some of the proposed changes for patch 10.14. So this is just a preview. The patch doesn't come out until next week, but a lot of people like to think about this stuff and sort of speculate ahead of time about how that might shake up the meta, what might be good, what might be bad. So that's what we're going to be doing in this video. If you enjoy this, please be sure to like and subscribe. It really helps out a ton on the channel. Come by, check out the stream every night starting around 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, going until about 4 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we do tier lists, patch notes, previews, champion guides, topical guides, like best one tricks, how to macro better, how to micro better, best bot lane combinations, is League of Legends luck, what is toxicity in League, and how can we fix it. All sorts of topical videos on the channel, so be sure to come by and check all that out. Okay, so they're going to buff up Ghost from 20 to 40 to 24 to 48%. I guess, I don't know. I feel like it's already made Darius pretty good, although his win rate hasn't been that great. Like, not that much different than it was, I should say. It's still, like, pretty good, but it's not, like, insane. So if we look at top rate and then, like, Darius, I thought Darius was going to rise a lot with that Ghost change, but it turns out really not that much. Pretty much even since the last patch. So, let me do this. Because I'm probably going to reference this a decent little chunk here. There we go. Sorry, I forgot to do that before the before starting the video, but that'll be helpful just so we can kind of look at some win rates and see if something's going to be good or bad overall. There we go. But and hopefully you can still see it, or if you can't, whatever, you can just listen to me and I'll narrate and say what it is. But anyways, yeah, so I don't think it's going to matter that much. So it's obviously going to be another buff to Darius, going to be another buff to Singed. So those champions will get a little bit better, but they're not too over the top right now. I mean, some people are starting to take them on, I've heard like some mages, like maybe Orianna, and a couple of other mages mid lane. TF, I don't see people take it a lot on TF, but I think it would be really good on TF if you're running Unsealed Spellbook, which is very common on him. Then you could just spellbook into teleport. If you wanted to do that for your first ultimate, you could teleport back. So, I don't know. I feel like that would help you reposition in a lot of situations a lot better. So, anyways, interesting, but the last time it was a major buff and it didn't really impact the meta too much. So, I'm not sure that a little bit more is going to impact it that much more if the last one didn't. Who knows? Maybe it'll put some people over the top, though. Okay, Predator buff. The damage is going from 30 to 90 to 40 to 120, which is quite a significant buff, especially later on. That's 30 damage. And then the cooldown is going down 10 seconds at every rank. That's starting to get pretty interesting. 90 seconds. So if you take Ingenious Hunter, which is very common on this, you could get up to 40%. And if you take Cosmic Insight, you get another 5%. But even like 40% down, you know, that's starting to get to like a 50-second cooldown or so when you get that stacked up. So that's going to give you a lot of ability to roam around and potentially make some plays. So I was thinking like maybe Maokai or something, you know, like support Maokai might like something like this. Someone who really wants a lot of speed. That's not going to take Ghost, though, because you probably wouldn't need both of them. I know that Nunu is another one who people have been messing around with Predator Nunu. The problem is a lot of champs that would like something like that are also going to want Conqueror, because it only gives you the bonus movement speed until you actually, you know, hit the person with something. So, I mean, maybe something like Skarner or Hecarim. I mean, obviously Hecarim's going to like it for the movement speed and then the extra damage as well. So people who want to run in there and just get one big hit or one engage and they have a hard time engaging anyways, you know, maybe. So like Maokai's the one who jumps out to me because he's already fairly tanky. You could, in theory, just rush Gargoyle Stoneplate on him as well early on. Like his mana costs aren't as bad as some of the other ones, and if you just take Presence of Mind plus Tenacity, then that can fix a lot of your mana problems. And then he would also benefit either from Taste of Blood, or he could even take Cheap Shot if you wanted to. And then probably like Ghost Poro and Ingenious Hunter. And then he could also itemize into Righteous Glory is pretty good on him early on. So if you get Righteous Glory and you have Predator boots, those are two different things that would benefit from Ingenious Hunter as well. And then you have your Sweeper, which also benefits from Ingenious Hunter. So that's 3 things right off the bat. You'd have 2 activatables. Or actually, yeah, your boots would be an activatable, and your first item would be an activatable. So that's pretty nice. And then he could also get stuff like Locket or Redemption. You know, those aren't like insanely good on him, but he can definitely run them. I mean, even Gargoyle of Stoneplate, you get the cooldown on that. It is 90 seconds, so that would take it down to below 1 minute. So you could activate Gargoyle a ton too if you're just having a lot of team fights over and over again. So I think there's a lot of possibilities there. It's just like, are you going to be too squishy if you do that though? Like, he's not a great user of Revitalize or some of those other runes, you know, that are available in the in that tree. Like, he would miss conditioning, but like Font of Life's not that crazy on him. You know, Revitalize isn't that crazy. The CC reduction isn't that crazy. It's okay, but if you're taking the Tenacity rune anyways, maybe it doesn't matter. So I don't know. Volibear support could be pretty good with it. Rakan, I think you still need Guardian. It's just he just needs that tankiness. I tried an Unsealed Spellbook Rakan game earlier this week because I saw like a pro player doing it. I think it might have been CLG. I can't remember, but I was like, huh, that looks fun. Let me try that out. I feel like you're just too squishy on Rakan that you need that Guardian. So I don't think there's going to be a lot of people that use Predator, but there might be a couple. You know, the usual suspects of like Hecarim, Skarner, stuff like that might enjoy it. But then maybe you might see a couple of things emerge. Maybe Maokai. We'll see. Okay, so nerfs. Volibear, base attack speed going down to 0.625, and then W healing to monsters is down a little bit. Okay, so going to take a bit more damage, especially on his first clear in the jungle. And he's not going to scale as well with attack speed items. I think that's fine because his W is how a lot of his sustained damage comes in anyways. And I don't think that's based on your auto attacks. It's not an auto attack reset. It's just a separate ability that you use. So there will be some builds maybe where that's going to matter. But I think a lot of the times he doesn't really usually get that many attack speed items. Like maybe a Wit's End or something. But I think that's going to happen. I mean, I guess sometimes he'll get like Blazer and King maybe. But there's a lot of stuff he can go for. So I think he'll be fine. He is one of the stronger champs right now overall. If we just look at main. What was that? Oh yeah, I was looking up Darius. If we just look at the main here. Yeah, well, he's only got a 51% win rate. I guess top lane right now. And that's where he's being played the most. I thought jungle was his most common role. But, okay, maybe he has fallen off a little bit. But is it really that low in the jungle? No, why is it showing top lane? It's trolling. I thought I clicked top. Anyways, okay, so he does have a 54% win rate in the jungle right now. That's what I thought. So anyways, that's fine. Yeah, I like bringing down his sustain, making his clear a little bit weaker early on. Good. Okay, Varus, Q max AD ratio, so a fully charged Q goes from 150% down to 125 to start, and then all the way up to 145. So that's depending on how many ranks of Q you put. So if you're maxing Q first, if you're doing the lethality, which is probably the strongest right now, then you know, by level 9 it probably won't be that big of a deal. But early levels it's definitely going to take some off. Then the Q minimum damage, that's like a quick cast Q. So that would be like your off builds, your on hit builds and stuff like that. You might be doing just like quick Qs just to pop your blight stacks or something. Goes from a minimum of 100% damage to 83 to 97. Okay, so that's pretty significant as well. So 25% off early. The base damage also on the E goes from basically 70 to 50. That's the last thing that you max. So until you get to level 13, you're just you're gonna lose 20 points on it. So that's quite a bit. I mean, if you have 100 AD, for example, now you'd only do 125 instead of 150, and then this would do 20 less. So you'd be losing 45 damage on that trade rotation. So that's pretty significant. I mean, he'll probably still be in the meta. but that's definitely a big hit to his Q max build. Now, if you want to do on-hit Varus, which is still, I think, pretty good, it's not as represented, I don't think. But it's still decent if you just do, like, Blather and King, Hurricane, Ginsu's. It's probably still alright. Pull it up here and just see kind of what the differential is. Like, he doesn't have a great win rate in solo queue anyways. He starts to get a lot better in, like, Diamond Plus. Yeah, part of what's making him really strong, and I talk about this a lot on the stream about item power spikes, it's just he can get such cheap items like Umbral Glaive, which brings great utility. It's just a fantastic bargain of an item. Still has 50 attack damage, but it also has 10% cooldown and 12 lethality on it. And it gives you a free sweeper. So, now the win rate honestly is not that different though if you look at this, right? So, first item, either Blather and King or Umbral or Dustblade, which are like the most common routes, or even Ghostblade. Those are all within like a percentage point of each other, so I don't think it's that big of a deal. As a second item, Ginsu's Hurricane's actually a little bit higher. But Ginsu's and Hurricane are about the same, honestly, as like Dustblade, Ghostblade, and Umbral. So they're pretty much, even though it's a lot more common to see the lethality poke build, the on-hit build's still pretty good too. So if this nerfs the poke build too much, then you can still do on-hit with him and it'll probably be okay. He still just brings a ton to the table. Like, the on-hit build still has a nice build path. You're still getting to build a bunch of longswords into Blather and King, or a bunch of longswords into your lethality items. This one's going to be better. It's at least going to feel better. Statistically, as you can see, it's not that significant, but it's probably going to feel better earlier on, so you get that nice completion at 2400. You get to start getting map control, and that's going to matter a lot more at like really higher ranks, but as long as you're not getting Manamune or Infinity Edge, both of those items are just really feels bad, very slow items. Manamune has a nice build path, sort of. It's at least cheap. It's 2400 to complete, whereas Infinity Edge is just terrible. It just feels really, really bad. So, anyways, good. He needs to be toned down a little bit. He's got a 100% pick ban rate in pro. I was just looking at this last night. We were talking about some different things. Oh, I've got that little. There we go. But yeah, I mean, if you look at this, we'll click on the bot lane presence, 99% presence. So he's, out of 128 games or whatever possible, or 130 games possible, whatever the number is, he was picked or banned 99% of the time. So still on the strong side, and that was on 10-12, which is what most pros are still playing on. So yeah, he definitely needed a nerf. Pyke, mid, okay, we'll look at that in a second. Wukong's getting changed from a 0.75 knockup to a 0.6. I don't think this is going to matter. Yeah, you're going to land a little bit faster, but it's not going to matter. He's still going to be, I think, too strong in a lot of situations. I mean, early game he's not that bad, but he just does so much damage and just brings so much utility. If he takes Conquer and Black Cleaver, he can pretty much insta-stack Conquer off of his R, put Cleaver stacks on everybody, apply additional Armor Shred with his Q, both for himself and his allies, AoE knockups, dash, invisibility. Like, he's just got a free tankiness built into his kit. He's just way too strong. So I think Wukong's still a huge problem. Now, his win rate's not like as insane as it once was. When his little mini rework first came out, it was something along the lines of like 55%, but it's still, like 53%. So I think he's still going to be good. I don't think that nerf's going to do too much. Okay, Trundle, W attack speed 30 to 100 percent to 20 to 100%. So W is what you max second. So this is going to matter. Early game's 10% attack speed. They did nerf his movement speed last time by a little bit. Now they're nerfing the attack speed. He's not that great in solo queue. He's okay. He's very good against tanks. So there are certain matchups. Like, he's got a great matchup into like Nunu, as far as solo queue goes. And there are some other matchups where he's pretty good, kind of at the higher end. But If Sejuani comes back into the meta, which they are buffing Sejuani on this patch, then he'll still be pretty good. So he's all right. I mean, I don't think it's gonna affect his win rate that much, but he's already at 50% in solo queue. He's okay, decently solid champ. Maybe he loses like 1% or something, but it might hurt him in pro. Okay, Ezreal. They are increasing his E cooldown to 28 seconds early. So 3 seconds at all ranks, basically. I think this is a pretty good move. It is going to matter. It's not going to matter as much as it might seem to other champions, because remember, every time you hit him with a spell, it lowers the cooldown of all your other spells by 1 second. So this just means that he has to land, like, you know, a couple more Qs sometime over a 25-second period, and it'll be the same thing, basically, or very close. So it will matter. It is going to make him more vulnerable, especially later on in the game. But I still think he'll be pretty good. Now, I will say, even in pro, like, his win rate is not that crazy, right? It's 48%. He just feels frustrating to play against. He does have a high presence, but Aphelios is conspicuously missing in my mind. Like, where are the Aphelios nerfs? I know he got nerfed last patch, but it doesn't matter. Like, he still has a 94% presence. He's still too strong compared to other ADCs. I mean, if they're not going to nerf Aphelios, then they need to buff a lot of the other top-end ADCs. And they're nerfing the other ones. So that's going to make Aphelios a lot better by comparison. So I don't like the fact that they're nerfing Ezreal and Varus and leaving Aphelios alone, because I feel like he's going to be pick ban next patch for sure. I mean, he basically already is. And they're buffing him by comparison, by nerfing the others, so. Anyways, that's fine. Ezreal does need a little bit of a tap just to make him a bit less safe. So I think that's probably one of the better ways to do it, just to punish him a little bit more whenever he uses his E. Okay. Pyke support. So mana per, or magic resist per level is going down. Okay. Armor per level is going down. Okay. That's not going to matter too much. I mean, at level 10, he's going to be losing 15 armor and 2.5 magic resist. So it matters a little bit. The armors could be significant. Okay, the Q mana cost is going from 70 to 55 to 75. Okay, so a lot cheaper. That's very cheap on the Q. You can definitely fish for Qs there. And then Q cooldown 12 to 8 to 10 to 8. Okay. 2 seconds less. That's like half a Blitzcrank. You know, in terms, like, I think Blitzcrank's hook is 100 mana on like a 20-second cooldown early on. It's something like that. This is going to be 55 mana on a 10-second cooldown. So that's a lot of hooks you can go fishing for. You're going to have a lot more threat uptime. And then the Q damage is up by 10 at all ranks. Okay. W movement speed is 40 to 60 to 40% at all ranks. Okay, so you'll definitely want to max E second. And the E damage is up by 10. Okay, so Q and E are both up by 10. That's 20 extra damage on your rotation. That's pretty strong. I mean, those are pretty strong buffs for support Pyke, I think. So we'll see. We'll have to try him out again. Karthus mid. Okay, so he's getting a little bit of HP. Okay, not going to matter. The 10 extra movement speed is massive, though. It's very good for him. Q damage, 45 to 125. Now remember, this does double damage if it hits an isolated target also. So 5 is pretty significant. And it's on a low cooldown. It's like a 1 second cooldown. So it doesn't seem like a lot. Oh, it's only 5, but it's really 10 if they're isolated. And he can cast like 6 of those by the time someone else can, you know, cast their trade spell again, right? Like maybe every 6 to 8 seconds. So that definitely does add up if he hits a lot of Qs. Q damage to monsters goes to 80%. Okay, so they don't want jungle Karthus. So they're buffing the Q damage against champions and minions, but not monsters. Okay. Now E always restores mana even if you don't toggle it off. Okay, that's good. Okay, and the tick rate was once per second. Now it's going to 4 times per second. So it's the okay, so it's the same damage. It just checks more often. Okay, that's probably a bit cleaner. All right, So good buffs. I don't think he's gonna be amazing right now though. There's so much counterplay to him. You know, you've got all the stopwatch stuff. You have Edge of Night that people can get. You have Banshees that people can get. There's lots of healing and shielding supports. There's just an overabundance of healing in general with Triumph and Conquer and Ravenous Hunter. Death's Dance is going to delay some of that as well. So a lot of people are also getting stuff like Phantom Dancer. You know, there's just so many like different defenses out there. Locket, Redemption. That I feel like it's really tough. I didn't think he was that impressive as a jungler to begin with until you start maybe getting up in a Diamond or Challenger. I just thought he could be bullied and just beaten up, and he just needs a ton of gold. So I don't know, but it's cool they're buffing him up, trying to make him a little bit more viable in the middle, I guess. He's not like that interesting of a champion, to be honest with you. It's just like, you know, press R. Like, there is some skill. You got to hit your Qs, and you got your little slow wall, and, you know, there's some stuff to him, but I'm not, like, super sad if he's not in the meta. But this will help, but I don't think it's going to make him insane. It's nice. It definitely is nice. Okay, base health going up a marginal amount. Q isolation goes to 2.2. I think that's total AD. Might be bonus AD, actually. It's probably bonus AD. Total AD would be a little nutty. But, yeah, I mean, that's a lot. It's basically 10% extra damage on isolation Qs. So, yeah, I think that's really nice. I mean, Kha'Zix can be really good. You just have to get the isolations, and you just got to play around it. But I feel like he's not that bad right now, is he? I mean, it's like 50%, I guess. I mean, I'm not a big fan of Kha'Zix in general or assassins, because usually when assassins are really good, it's tough as a support to make it out there. There are a couple of champs like Rakan, you know, and then the Leona and Nautilus are pretty good against him, but I don't know. That's okay. It's certainly pretty nice for him. He'll probably get like 1% off of that. Sejuani. All right. E damage is up by 15. Okay. At all ranks. That's very significant. E cooldown on target is 8 seconds at all ranks. Okay. So you can freeze them multiple times. Now that does not include also the percentage damage that you get off of your permafrost. Then your E ally buff. Okay, so people who can hit melee and put stacks on them for the E is 1300 versus 1100. That's pretty significant. I mean, 15 more damage and you can apply the stun more often. I'm not really sure what's holding her back. I think I don't know, she's just been nerfed so many times. I think she just didn't have any damage. So we'll see. I mean, Sejuani's a little bit dangerous to buff because historically she has been one of the most oppressive junglers in Pro when she's good. So we'll see. That is a pretty big upgrade. What is she at right now? 48. Yeah, I think this will definitely bring her up to like 50, maybe 51% if it goes through. That's a good buff. I think Sejuani's an interesting champion. You know, definitely you got to be careful on the strong side. Brings a lot of CC, historically good engage, pretty solid damage, very difficult to kill. So she's dangerous, but I think she's interesting. Okay, Zed, missile speed up is a lot, so that means that he can really move that shadow is going to go out quick. And the cooldown's going down by 2 seconds early, so I don't know if he maxes W second or third. If he maxes it third, that's a really big buff to get 2 extra seconds on it. If he maxes it second, like, it's pretty good. But I think that's nice. I think Zed is a very interesting champion to play against and to play with. I think he's one of the more fair assassins out there, honestly. Because it feels like even if he's like ultra fed and you're really squishy and you have no armor, yeah, it's like, okay, maybe there's no counterplay to him. But I feel like a lot of times there's more counterplay to Zed than there is to other stuff like Talon, right? Like Talon just runs at you and you're just going to eat all that damage. Or Fizz. You know, if Fizz hits you with your fish, with the fish, there's some skill there, but you're taking all the damage. Versus Zed, it's like, if you can dodge his shurikens or like blink away from his shurikens, then you can kind of outplay him a little bit. It depends on the situation, but it just feels like there is more counterplay to him than some of the other assassins. And kind of like what I was talking about with Karthus, the damage is delayed, so there's a lot of potential counterplay out there, right? There's a lot of healing in the meta. People can get stuff like Edge of Night. That's going to make it a lot harder to engage on them. You know, they can have Stopwatch or Zanyas. The support can have Locket. There's a lot of stuff that can answer Zed out there right now, so I like seeing him buffed up a little bit. Alistar. Okay, lowering the Q cooldown. I had no idea it was that high. That's pretty troll. That's a very long cooldown compared to Leona and Nautilus. They both have had like really dramatically lowered cooldowns, especially Leona. So I like that they're giving Alistar a buff. I think, you know, they really need to figure out, excuse me, how is he unique from every other tank with Aftershock, right? Like his ult used to be special. It's like, okay, you're invulnerable. Go in. You don't need a lot of items, but that's like pretty much every tank now, right? You go in with Aftershock, you're invulnerable, or Gargoyle Stoneplate, or whatever. Okay, they can't kill you. Now what else do you do? And the thing with Alistar is he's just going to have, like, less sustained CC because his stuff is on such a long cooldown. And a lot of times his engage involves using 2 of those abilities instead of just 1. Like a lot of the other engage champs out there. So he just doesn't bring a lot to the table. It just feels like he does less damage, has longer cooldowns. You know, ultimate just basically doesn't do anything this day and age. Yeah, it makes him unkillable, but once again, if you have Gargoyle on Leona, you're similarly difficult to kill, right? Maybe not quite as hard, but similar. See.
You loud.
I am loud. But anyways, okay, so good. I don't think that's going to be enough to magically bring him back into the meta. I just don't know why you'd play something like Alistar when you could just play Rakan. But, I mean, they do have a similar win rate, I guess. But, anyways, okay, that's nice. I can get on board with that. Passive damage on Riven is pretty significant. Extra 5%, that's total AD, and that passive triggers a lot. I think whenever you do your combo to somebody with your Q and you weave the auto attacks in there, I'm pretty sure it triggers it 3 times. So it's like every time you do an ability, I think your next auto attack gets empowered to do extra damage. So, you know, on a standard Q type of combo there, that's 15% more of your total attack damage. So, and then that doesn't include also being able to dash with your E and the little mini stun with their W. So if you get all 5 of those things on somebody, you know, it's going to be 25% of your total AD. So I think that's pretty big. Now, is that going to make Riven... is that going to make her unstoppable? Probably not, but I think it's nice. I think Riven, once again, is a fun, interesting champ. I think there's some decent counterplay to her. Unlike some of these other champs that get fed your sets and your Dariuses and stuff like that, it just feels like there's nothing you can do and they get ahead. With Riven, it feels like, you know, there are ways that you can potentially outplay her. If you can CC her, you can kill her. You know, you can flash her stun, dash to get away from her ult. It just feels like there is some stuff. Now, yes, she is fast. Yes, she can kill you if you're a great Riven player. You know, there's not going to be a ton of counterplay to it. But I just feel like it takes more skill to beat somebody down with Riven than it does with something like Darius or Set. And that's why I generally favor that type of champion over, or Garen over some of those other simpler champs. But anyways, that's it for this video. Thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed it. Looks like there's definitely some interesting stuff going on here. They might add some more as the week progresses, so stay tuned for that. And some of this stuff may not arrive. Some of it might, you know, like I said, have a little bit more to it. So be sure to watch the real patch notes. Those will be out next Tuesday. But I just wanted to give you guys a little preview here. And that's going to be it. Have a good day. See you next time.